Something strange happened in 2021. Engineer Blake Lemoine started talking to Google's chatbot development system called LaMDA. Now, he was supposed to be looking for hate speech, but after talking to LaMDA for several weeks, he became convinced that this artificial intelligence was alive. Lemoine gathered the evidence and sent his bosses a document called "Is LaMDA Sentient?" But when Google looked into this matter, they found that his claims didn't really hold up. Lemoine was suspended for leaking information outside, and the case was closed. But it did raise an interesting question. How far has AI come? Now, in fiction, artificial intelligence is almost always alive and has this nasty tendency to become evil. The pop culture image of a rogue AI coming for all of humanity is something that's deeply etched into our brains. Then you have people like Elon Musk.
We have to figure out some way to ensure that the advent of digital superintelligence is one which is symbiotic with humanity. I think that's the single biggest existential crisis that we face, and the most pressing one.
So I wouldn't blame you if you were a little worried about Lemoine's claims about LaMDA. But let's get one thing straight. AI is nowhere close to being alive. At least most experts agree on that. Eric Brynjolfsson is an AI scientist at Stanford. When he saw what Lemoine was saying, he posted a really interesting image on Twitter along with these words. To claim that language models are sentient is the modern equivalent of the dog who heard a voice from a gramophone and thought his master was inside. Basically, neural networks like LaMDA are so good at imitating human speech because they are trained with a huge amount of text written by actual human beings. They don't actually understand what they're saying. They're just very good at imitating patterns. Steven Pinker, a Harvard scientist, also said that there's no evidence that Google's language models are sentient, intelligent, or even have self-knowledge. I want you to take a look at this GIF. That dog is not actually smiling. You just feel like it is. That's because your brain is hardwired to empathize with anything that has human features, even if you know that that's not human. That's why it's so easy for us to believe that artificial intelligence is alive. And this brings us back to the question, where exactly does AI stand right now? AI isn't sentient yet, but it has come a long way. You might not realize this, but it's already become a big part of your life. The voice assistant on your phone uses AI. Search engines like Google use AI. Netflix and Spotify recommendations use AI. Writing, self-driving, translating languages, diagnosing illnesses, predicting the stock market, there are endless examples of how AI is used today. And while AI mostly makes our lives easier, there are major problems that we need to address. In fact, is AI sentient or not is probably the wrong question to ask. A lot of ethics experts think that this question is taking the spotlight away from actual problems, like the fact that algorithms can show bias against certain communities, or that AI can be used for misinformation, or that a lot of AI is trained with your personal data. Take Margaret Mitchell. She was one of the people who helped Lemoine gather his evidence, but she herself doesn't believe that LaMDA is anything more than a computer program. Her main problem with language models is that they've become convincing enough to fool people into believing that they are talking to a real person. Now, if the person talking to you on the phone isn't really a person, and you don't know that, that's a huge ethics problem. Apart from that, AI can make it very easy for governments and individuals to keep tabs on people. There's a company called Clearview AI, which automatically collects millions of images of people across the internet and can use facial recognition technology to track them down for governments, militaries, and law enforcement. These are the real problems with AI that need to be solved at present. But enough about the present. Let's talk about the future. Say we do solve all of these other problems with AI. Do we still have to worry about AI becoming sentient in the future? Well, we might. There's no clear timeline for when this might happen, and there's a lot of disagreement on this issue, but AI is evolving really fast. Brynjolfsson thinks that this could happen within 50 years because we're focusing too much on imitating humans rather than assisting humans. But other scientists think that this will take some more time, centuries even. But still, it's worth thinking about because we are giving a lot of power to AI. Governments from across the world are leaning towards automated weapon systems run by AI, and you don't need to have a vivid imagination to understand how that could go wrong. To address this, AI needs to be more heavily controlled in the future. Right now, regulation for AI is coming up, but slowly. If we build kill switches, limit what AI can do, and correct our course every so often, we might be able to avoid a future in which AI comes for us. But I will make no promises. Sleep tight.